or is that in the record? And secondly, what is the criteria about the 500 rule radius? I know that several of the people that have written things are beyond 500, and if that is the case, I'd like to know that if it doesn't apply. And then if I need to state everything that we've stated before, then I will start after that's answered.
With regard to I'm still getting some feedback, so what I heard in your first question was that you presented a concession. Is that correct? And is that part of the record?
It will be, yes. It will be, yes, because I believe there's three things, sir. One is, I believe at the end of the last hearing, you asked us to try and find a concession between us. So we did that immediately. The next morning, I reached out to the county and said, if that was your request, how do we go about doing that? And that is in the record now. But I have a question about the 500 feet property rule that people have at to complain or oppose, I guess is a better word, because a good number that are on this list or have sent letters are beyond 500 feet. And if that's the case, if they are beyond 500 and that's still okay, then I think there's people that may want to get on this call that are also beyond 500 feet that feel that the flag is not something they object to. So I'm just asking if that can be clarified. And if not, then yes, we will go over the concession, unless you also want me to repeat my testimony from before.
Okay, well, the requirement, the 500-foot requirement only applies to the persons who are required to get notice of the hearing. It does not apply to those, it does not address who has the right to testify at the hearing. So you don't have to live within 500 feet of your residence to be able to testify. This is a public hearing, and any member of the public can testify.
All right. Well, then thank you. And then my second question was, do I repeat everything from before, or is that in the record?
That will be in the record. So if you prefer, Ms. Bird, to just reference the testimony you gave before and adopt it by reference, I see no reason why you couldn't do that. The purpose of conducting the hearing was to allow you the opportunity to present that testimony to the people who maybe weren't here last time but are attending this time. So it's your choice as to whether you want to just adopt what you said at the prior hearing by reference, or state it again or summarize it.
You can adopt what I said before, what we also put in writing, and then I'll go for new data is to do the concession that we offered, which is, I believe, what you asked at the end of the last hearing.
Okay.
Is that correct? Okay. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
Okay. So in reason for the references that I did hear, and Vicki was gracious enough to send me people's letters that I had not had prior to it. And just like some of the people that wrote in, our home was built as a refuge for my husband and me for 5 years, continuing till this day. I have been under treatment and doing chemo, and we decided to build a home that would be a home that we could age in place and have it as a refuge, as many did. We also recognize the fact that our home blocks views of people, not just the flag, and I think that's where some of the anger comes from. But the lot was for sale twice. And just as my husband and I bought lots in front of us to protect our view and some of our neighbors' views, This lot could have been bought at any time before my husband and I bought it in 2017, and then built on it eventually. So in taking into consideration what some people wrote, what people said, we felt we would compromise by leaving the flag in place where it is if granted the variance. And we still stick by, if the variance isn't granted, we will still leave the flag where it is at 14 feet, and yet put another flag on the property, which we have already had approved by the county, can be done at the higher elevation, but keep it at 14 feet so that we're within the code. Therefore, we could see it from our kitchen, and we could see it as we come up our drive and when we are out walking in the neighborhood as well. My testimony besides that and the concession that we made about 180 days a year is what you already have in the record. And I believe everyone has read it, because I've seen other communications going back and forth. So I don't think we need to read the concession. I think everyone who's on this call has heard it and seen it. So for time purposes, I'll stick by my original testimony, originally what we wrote, and the concession we've offered thus far.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Bird. Does that conclude the applicant's testimony?
Yes, I guess. Yes.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'd like to ask for any members of the public that are in favor of this application to please identify yourself for the record by name and address and be sworn in. I'll ask again if there is anyone present who wishes to testify in favor of this application. Please identify yourself for the record and we will swear you in. Okay, hearing none, I will turn to those persons opposed to the application, and I would similarly ask you to identify yourselves for the record by name and address. We will swear you in, and then we'll allow you to testify in the order in which you are identified and sworn.
Howard Gershom, 41 Sundance Drive, Santa Fe, 87506.
Any other persons who want to testify in opposition?
Ellen Roebling, in opposition. I live at 12 Palantine, right next door.
Okay, anyone else?
Felipa, you're muted.
Yeah, I see someone talking, but I can't hear her. Can we unmute?
Can you hear me now? Felipa Klessig, 90 Sundance Drive.
Okay, we got you, Ms. Klessig.
Thank you.
Anyone
And
else?
I have a letter from somebody who could not attend today, and I'm not sure it's in the packet, from Ronnie Hill. I could read that also later.
Okay, please do that.
Do you want me to read that first?
We'll do that when it's your turn to testify.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have anybody else participating in this hearing that wishes to testify in opposition to the application? Okay, hearing nobody else, we will start with the testimony of Mr. Gershon.
Hello, Mr. Gershon. Could you raise your right hand? Do you swear
Yes.
or, thank you. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give us the truth?
I do.
Thank you, sir.
So I presented my opposition in the earlier hearing, and hopefully that's in the record. I simply want to state that the compromise suggested by the birds, to me, is unworkable. I mean, how are we going to monitor whether or not the flag is flying more than 180 days a year? Who's going to keep track of that? How are we going to keep track of whether or not the flag is actually lowered at dusk, as she has proposed to do? Who's going to keep track of that? And if in fact the flag is not lowered, or if it flies more than 180 days, what kind of recourse do we have to ensure that that's being enforced? So I simply think this alternate proposal is unacceptable and unworkable. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gershon. Next is Miss Robley? Did I get that right?
Yes, Robling, R-O-B-L-I-N-G.
Robling, okay, thank you.
Ms. Roebling, will you raise your right hand? Thank you. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give us the truth?
Yes.
Would you also provide your address?
12 Palatine Road.
Thank you.
Okay, you may proceed, Ms. Roebling.
I would just like to confirm everything Howard said about the concessions not being manageable. My other objection to the current location of the flagpole at 19 feet 6 inches is that when my partner Danielle Gagnon and I are in the vegetable garden at the edge of our property, they're at 19 feet and 6 inches, which we have experienced because the flags were at that level for a long time. It is, it's a constant distraction when you're in the vegetable garden, because at almost 20 feet, there is much more air that the flags pick up. I want to thank the birds for securing the line so there isn't noise from the line. That is not an issue, but it is the constant prevalence of wind that creates this snapping and flapping and snapping and flapping and snapping and the whole time we're in the garden. And so then we experienced it at 14 feet, where it's been for a couple of months. And it's amazing. The sound is half of what it is at 20 feet. So other than that, we have no objections to the birds having flags. We would just like the variance not to be permitted so that the flags stay at 14 feet. Even if there's an additional flag at another location higher on the lot, it will just make our life and our enjoyment of our garden much better if the variance isn't allowed. And I would also say that Penny Ellis Green provided me with the with what is required for the variance, the criteria. And it says where the request is not contrary to public interest, which I am here to, as a member of the public, to say it's contrary to my interest. And the second is where, due to extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions of the property, the strict application of the code would result in peculiar and exceptional practical difficulties or exceptional and undue hardship on the owner, and so that the spirit of the SLDC is observed, and substantial justice is done. And as much as I understand the birds' desire to have the flag and see it as much as they can from their house, I don't think not having a 20-foot flag is undue hardship. It may be disappointing, but I don't think it's can in any way be considered hardship. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Roebling. Next is Ms. Klessig.
Thank you. First, I wanted to thank everybody for the continuance of this hearing.
Need to be sworn. Is she sworn in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Ms. Klesk, will you raise your right hand? Thank you. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give us the truth?
Yes,
And will you also state your address, please?
90 Sundance Drive, Santa Fe.
Thank you.
Okay, you may proceed.
Thank you. Again, thank you for continuing the hearing. And first, I wanted to read a letter from Ronnie Levine at 10 Bella Loma, same zip, 87506. She sent this November 7th. I didn't see it in the packet, so. Dear Mr. Bustos and Ms. Lopez, I have become aware of a situation where a neighbor, Mr. and Mrs. Bird, have asked for a variance so they can erect a 19-foot flagpole on a ridgeline on their property. This situation appears to be a case of the needs of a few impacting the quality of life of many. Too often the county has been bullied into making decisions to satisfy the comfort or vanity needs of a single homeowner. This request is in opposition to the Sustainable Land Development Code, December 8th, 2015, which states 7.9.1 purpose, all signage shall comply with the requirements of this section. 7.9, in order to 1, ensure a visually pleasant place in which to live or to visit, and 7.9.1.4, protect views of the natural landscape and sky. Thank you for viewing my comment, Ronnie Levine. And for myself, I did write in a possible concession. I did not hear on that, but I'm pretty sure it's in the record. So instead of reading all of that, I do find that the current concession as stated by the Birds does not work for all the reasons that Mr. Gershon already stated. And I don't understand too, when I look at the testimony or the letter of the concession from the Birds, they say that this is to honor people that they've known, people in 9/11, and also so they can see the flag even when they're walking the neighborhood. And I'd say that is the objection of the rest of us that have ridgeline homes. We'd like to keep that plain ridgeline view of the trees and their beautiful home, I might add, that I can see clearly from my front portal. So I want to read a letter that I just sent in. Mr. Vigil, you have heard from many neighbors, some rather eloquently, why they do not want the variance. In summary, the Birds built a spectacular house in a warm and friendly neighborhood. The type of neighborhood where during one of our notorious power outs, and you are out of wood, a neighbor will share some of their own cord, bring it to your door. If your mom is sick and you need to get to Dallas, no problem. We will watch and care for your dogs. Get on the road. But the Birds want to put a flagpole where it irritates the neighbors, commands their views just because they think they can. Not only that, they have threatened trespassing lawsuits as we try to get this resolved and moving it upslope to an even more commanding location. The numerous codes in the Santa Fe County Sustainable Land Development Code dated December 13th show the variance not only should not be granted, but the existing 14-foot flagpole should be moved. These are some of the same codes you've heard earlier, but per 7.9.1.3, protect and enhance economic viability by ensuring that Santa Fe County will be a visually pleasant place in which to live or to visit. 7.9.1.4, protect views of the natural landscape and sky. And under prohibited signs, 7.9.12, the following signs are not allowed in any zoning district. And that's 12.1, rooftop signs and signs that extend above the roof of any building. So clearly moving it upslope, even at 14, would be above the roof line of the building. And a flag, of course, and its pole are assigned per county code. We respectfully ask the county to decline the variance and require resituating the existing flagpole so it is closer and low to the house for all the reasons stated above. And that's myself and my husband, Carl, who could not be here today. Thank you again for your time and the continuance.
Thank you, Ms. Klessig. Is there anyone present from the public who wishes to testify on the matter in any regard, whether for, against, or just generally make a comment at this point?
Mr.
Okay.
Beal, this is Trish, and just for the record, our house, if we move this flag up, our roof line will still be taller than our home. I mean, taller than the flag. And within 2 years, as it stated, and that the county came out and took their own pictures, which is why I didn't want someone on our property taking pictures. The county is very able to do it, and from any angle they would have wanted them. I think anybody on this phone would have had concerns or issues if I had walked in their property to take pictures. And as far as the roof line, like I said, when we move the flag, if it's not granted, it will still be below our roof line. Leaving the flag where it is also all right. Like I said, the trees that are there now are already blocking 3/4 of it, which are shown in the county's pictures. And on the back side, which a neighbor is not concerned about the flag, or he would be on the call today, has had no issue. And my concern too was when we move the flag up, it's going to be noisier. And Ellen, I'm sorry about that. And last but not least, we also built our home, like I said, to enjoy it, to honor those. The flag honors those. I lost 11 family members on 9/11 and 3 best friends, and watched them die from my office. And I think flying the flag is our right. And if it stays at 14 feet, it stays at 14 feet, and we keep both flags at 14 feet. And as far as this being a welcoming neighborhood, what I did not submit in, which I could have easily done, were the letters that we received while our home was being built, including a 16-point email saying everything that's wrong with our home. So they're part of a wonderful neighborhood, Sundance Estate, but we've never been, if you want to say, welcomed in any way, shape, or form. And we've actually had some pretty negative things written to us, which I could submit into record if you'd like. But other than that, we're not trying to get someone angry. We're trying to enjoy the flag on our property, on our home site, and honor those and honor the flag. And if the compromise can't be met, if the county sees no way to enforce it, then we all will abide by what you all decide, which is keep it at 14, and then we fly 2 flags at 14. And if you give us the variance, then we keep the one, which again will soon be covered by trees anyways. That will stop more of the sound coming, no matter if it's our direct neighbor or the people that are down in Sundance Estates. And that's it. And this is going on long too much, and it is getting onto my health, so I don't want to keep it going. Whatever it is, it is.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bird. At this time, I would ask if there's anybody else who's participating in the hearing who has not testified, who would like to testify. Hearing none, I'm going to close the public testimony portion of the hearing, and I would ask if staff has any response to any of the testimony that they'd like to give at this point.
Hearing Officer Virtue, this is Vicki. I just wanted to make a point of clarification regarding the number of signs, or sorry, the number of flags. The SLBC allows a maximum of 2 flags on the property. So if they were going to split the flags and fly the New Mexico flag on one pole and the U.S. flag on another pole, then I think that would be allowed. But we wouldn't allow more than a total of 2 flags.
Vicki, we understand that. Chip talked to someone in the county, so we understand one will be the New Mexico flag and one will be the United States flag.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that that was clear.
Okay, thank you. Does staff have any other response that would like to provide at this point? Okay, if
Hearing
not,
Officer Virtue, I do not, but I don't know if any of the members of staff in the chambers have anything more to add.
Mr. Hearing Officer, I just wanted to add that, staff did look into the code section, the 7.9.12, the prohibited signs, specifically 7.9.12.1. It says rooftop signs and signs that extend over the roof of any building. It was determined among staff that, rooftop signs would be something that is physically mounted to the side of, a residence or a building. So that was our interpretation of that.
okay, thank you, Mr. Bustos. Okay, if there are no further comments from the staff at this point, I'm going to close this public hearing, and I will have a written recommendation distributed within 15 business days of today. Thank you all very much for attending. The hearing is closed.